Welcome back to Freedom Circle Podcast. I'm Marcia.
And I'm Chantrice.
And I'm Sade. I'm here making a way.
Ooh, welcome to February. We are in the second month of the year.
Yes.
You guys know what this month is? This is the month of love, the month of the matters of the heart. I mean, not only do we celebrate, well, people celebrate Valentine's Day, but it's also American Heart Month. Right, and all of those is dealing with the heart. We're talking about the physical heart, and we're talking about the emotional and the mental heart. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about self-love. Do you love yourself? Do you understand the importance of loving yourself first?
Yeah.
So
Gotta start with you.
Yes, let's get into this conversation. So, guys, why is it so important to love yourself first?
Well, if you're not loving yourself first, how can you love other people? How can you show that to other people if you don't know what it is to love yourself first? Right? We have to do the same things that we're putting out to people. We have to do that to ourselves first so that we can give that empathy, that compassion, those things to other people. It's like that self-acceptance, right? You have to be able to accept yourself. The wins and the losses, the failures, the ups and the downs, being able to accept that and say it's okay. I can still move through that. I still have worth and value in myself, even though it maybe didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to turn out. There's a self-compassion. That same empathy that you're showing other people, have you shown that to yourself in those times that you felt like, dang, it didn't work out, or it didn't look like that, or I'm mad at myself, you know what I mean? But you're still showing yourself compassion. But it's still also like doing self-care, right? You're checking in with yourself. You're being able to do physically, mentally, and emotionally what that looks like, whether it be your rest, eating right, doing things that bring you joy and fulfillment. So I think all of those things kind of just encompass, loving yourself.
I agree. Loving yourself, as you said, self-care, checking in with yourself, being your biggest cheerleader, affirmations, affirming yourself in the morning. That's my biggest thing. Like I wake up after I pray, I affirm God's promises over my life, and then I also cheer myself on and remind myself that I got this. And if I don't got something, then I get up and try again. Like loving yourself is important because, like you said, how do you love others? Like especially if you're a wife, if you're in a relationship, or if you have children. Like how do you love your children if you're not reflecting, showing them how. Like how do you love your children without loving yourself? How are you showing your children to love themselves? Like when I affirm and pray over my kids in the morning, I let them know and remind them not only to be kind to others, but be kind to yourself. Like that's my big thing for them. Like mental health is real, so it's just like remind yourself who you are. Tell yourself that you're going to do a good job. Remind yourself that you're intelligent, that you're smart, that you're gifted, that you're an athlete, that God has a promise in the future for you. So it's just like whatever you do today can reflect or can affect your tomorrow or your future. So be mindful, like we had on the episode before, like just be mindful of what you're doing and how you're doing, but take care of yourself the way you look. Make sure you dress well, make sure you brush your teeth, make sure you wash your face, like make sure like you are just presenting yourself well. Also, that's another way of loving yourself, mentally, inwardly and outwardly as well. So working out, eating well, Yeah.
And I think that there can be a very negative connotation on when people talk about self-love, because it's like self and people see that self as being like selfish. Right? But I mean, even if we go back to the word of God, it says you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you have to truly understand what it means to, like, first you got to love God, but then based on loving God and understanding God's love and what love means to God, then you automatically love yourself, and then that transition you into loving other people. Now, everyone gave a great explanation about love and self-love and why it's important. But let's take them on our self-love journey and what that looks like, because we're throwing off a lot of truth, a lot of facts. But now let's dig a little bit deeper.
So let's dig a little deeper. For me, that journey, I mean, it's not easy. Right, I feel like it's been a roller coaster. It's been up and down. There's times where I'm just like, okay, like I put on an outfit, I look good, I feel good on the inside, as well as the outside. But then there's days where it's just like, this don't look right. I'm not in the right mindset, I'm not really able to, show love, not necessarily show love to other people, but, I'm just kind of quiet, kind of to myself because I'm not feeling at my best. So I'm not able to put out the best because I don't feel it. I don't have it. So I really have to like dig deep, pray about things, talk to those trusted people in order to get myself back in the right place with it and really just looking at myself like, okay, what can I do better? How can I move forward with the things that I'm feeling? What's the action plan? What's the steps to do that so that I can get back to feeling my best self?
For me, the journey. So, what I think about is my sobriety, how I became sober, and how I used to mask a lot of things with smoking weed in regards to raising my children, dealing with my marriage, working, just dealing with everyday life. Like I compress and suppress a lot of things and try to become numb to situations without um, being my being the best version of myself. Because with smoking and being lazy and being numb and just literally just the word I'm trying to, it's just like, I just wasn't there. I was not, it was like superficial. It wasn't my genuine, authentic self. So it's just like, when I stopped smoking and I became sober from smoking, I was able to know my worth more. I was able to be more focused with my children. Like, I was more present. And as I always say and keep saying, like, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for me coming to reality and coming to a point in my life where it's just like, I have to grow. Like, yes, I was growing in certain ways. Like, I wasn't really stagnant, but it's just like God had more for me. And that was part of loving me. Like, Sade, you don't need this. You don't need that. God has this for you. Like, so if I'm more coherent and sober minded, therefore, God could get more out of me. Because, like, just, I just wasn't there. It was like a whole facade. Like, it was really foggy back then. So, therefore, I felt like I wasn't really loving myself because I was restraining myself. I was restricting myself from my greatness. Like, that is my journey for I would say I started smoking at the age of 17, 18 years old. I'm 37 years old. I stopped smoking 2 years ago. So that was like almost 17 years worth of just stunting my growth. Like, even though I was doing stuff, I could have been doing more. But I also know that God has a plan for me and that He knew there was gonna be a time as it is as now. So it's just like the grace that He gave me, the mercy He gave me, and the chances He kept giving me because He was loving me more than I loved myself. So therefore, He has showed me what love is, where I'm able to receive the love and I'm able to love others now.
It's good. Um, this is what I want to say. When you think about self love is you loving you, but you loving you not based off of someone else saying that they love you,
That's a good
right?
point.
You loving you because it's just something inside of you that you're just like, I love me, not based on how many degrees you have, the type of car you drive, the job you have, your friend group, your relationship. Like, you loving you is, I love me even if I don't have anything. And for me, myself love journey is an ongoing journey. And my life, since I was young, I didn't love me. I didn't love the way I looked. I didn't love the way I talked. I didn't love anything. And it all was rooted in me feeling like, well, my father didn't love me. My father wasn't there. Or me not really getting those certain affirmations, telling you that you're beautiful and things like that. And I had to learn how to love myself. And it wasn't until I really developed a relationship with God, and I was like, what, 20 something when that happened? But before that, everything was, well, if my father didn't love me, then I'm not, that I don't know what it is to love myself. I don't understand my worth. I hated my freckles. Kids are mean. I mean, I've said this before, and they would talk about my freckles. I had a gap. People talk about my gap. I had big feet. People talk about my big feet. So everything I did not love is because of what was going on outside. Either my dad not being present, or what was not being said, because people got to realize that's also important.
Right.
Not just what people are saying, but what are people not saying. And then the words that kids were saying to me, I didn't understand that that doesn't determine your worth. That doesn't determine who you are. I didn't really know that. Like, we went to church every now and then, and I knew God, but I didn't understand that God loved me. One, He created me, but He loved me. He didn't care about how I look, because he the one, He literally created me. So He didn't care about how I talk, or I had a gap, or I had a big feet. Like, He loved me, and He loved me for me being me. I didn't have to put on a facade. I didn't have to put on a mask. I didn't have to dress a certain way for someone to like love me and show me attention. And like I said, it's a journey, but once you realize that all of that stuff is a myth, like, that's not what love is. Like, even when someone says they love you, people who say I love you can hurt you, and they do hurt you. But love is not supposed to hurt. Love is not supposed to be mean to you. Love is not supposed to judge you. Love is not supposed to keep count, and so I just feel that sometimes we look for love. What's that? It's a song or something.
In
like,
all the wrong
in
places.
all the wrong places.
Yeah.
When we have someone who has always loved us, love us regardless of what we do, what we say, how we look, what we go to school for, what neighborhood we live in, what family we belong in. And a lot of times, a lot of that identity crisis that we have, the problems with, like, so it's really self-hatred. When we don't love ourselves, it's like self-hatred. A lot of that stuff that we deal with is things that started before the age of 10. And it's like, maybe our parents didn't get the love that they were supposed to. Maybe they didn't understand what self-love. They didn't understand how to love themselves. They didn't understand how to look into the mirror and be like, you're beautiful, you're chosen, you have everything that you need, and things like that. But it's definitely been an ongoing journey, because we're always triggered, right? And so, always being triggered, we have to be able to go back into that secret place with God and remind ourselves who we are and to whom we belong. So if maybe someone don't realize that they deal with self-hatred, right? Maybe they think they do love themselves, and they are, putting themselves first. What are some signs that would help them identify that you think you love yourself, but you're only loving yourself because of what's happening on the outside? So what are some things that they could, like, alert them and be aware?
That's kind of hard to say, to be honest, because it's kind of like, um, they may take offense to it, or they may not be ready to accept it. So therefore, they may get defensive and be in denial. So it's kind of like, telling me back then when I was smoking that, you could be doing something better with your time. You could be spending time with your kids, and I could say back in return, like, I do spend time with my kids. It's just like, I feel like that's just a testy conversation to have, because they're gonna they have to come to realization.
No, so let me rephrase the question. So someone who may be listening, like, what do they need to look out for to understand that, wow, I'm not loving myself?
Yes.
I guess speaking death over themselves, like speaking death over their lives, like, just being, speaking, being fearful, or speaking negative, speaking down upon themselves, not liking who they are, like their appearance, calling themselves names, like, or not being able to believe in themselves, not having any worth, saying stuff like, I can't do that, or I don't have the money for that, I'm broke, I'm restricted from this because I have a disability, or I have a sickness. That's the only way. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm assuming, I guess.
Yeah, I can kind of echo. I mean, I think the way that you speak to yourself is definitely a testament to how you're feeling on the inside, right? If you're not able to, look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I look good today," but you're always seeking that validation from someone else, that outside source, you might want to look at that. Check that. I think that people often look to substances, you know what I mean? And I appreciate your vulnerability with that, you know what I mean? Because I think there's a lot of people who try to numb what they're feeling, right? Instead of actually taking account for like what's hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's just being mindful of that is really what hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
What, you know, the way that you eat, how do you look at food? Are you only eating when you are upset or emotional because you're whatever those feelings are, you're eating them. You're you know
Mm-hmm.
stuffing it down in that way. So that's also something to look for. You know what I mean? How is it? How is my relationship with food?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that I look at myself? Am I seeking outside validation from other people? I think those are all like key things to say, something might be a little off, or maybe I might need to look at things a little different or check myself with that because you don't want to do that. You want to be able to look within you to start that journey. You know what I mean? And I think that when you mention, always being triggered, I do think that people are triggered, but I think that when you begin to heal, you know what I mean, it's not necessarily a trigger. It's just something that now that you notice,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. It's not going to set you off because now you're aware of what that is. So
I agree with that.
yeah.
I would also add that not being able to take a compliment, like when someone gives
Mm.
you a compliment, instead of you saying like, oh, someone says like, oh, your hair is beautiful, you be like, this ain't beautiful,
Right.
like instead of just being like, thank
Thank you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
you, you know. Also being mindful of what people are saying to you,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some people that's gonna be honest, like even like what you were saying, what you had started to say. um, there are gonna be some people that's gonna be honest. Like, why do you keep ending up in these type of relationship? Why do you keep mindful? Because in a way, these are people basically telling you that you need to like look yourself in the mirror because people from the outside can see your worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're gonna speak on like you maybe you should like get a different job, or have you ever thought about doing this or doing that, or you know even your relationships, like how are you still friends with her when she just, whatever it may be. So being mindful of what people in the outside world are saying, and the way people you allow people to treat you
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
also shows how you
Love
like
yourself.
love
Yeah.
yourself,
That's so true.
you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, that was like a moment where something was happening with me, and literally it was like my God moment where it was just like, oh, I'm not loving myself because the stuff that I'm dealing with, a person should not be dealing with accepting. Like, what are you accepting?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm definitely not loving myself, and that was my moment where I'm like, I need therapy and I need God,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, because I was not loving myself because the way I was allowing people to treat me and
Mm-hmm.
making me feel, and when you can't control your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so like if you are not able to guard your heart and your mind, you're not like loving yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you continue to allow things from the outside to determine your energy, to determine your mood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just goes to setting boundaries, right? We're gonna engage with things that don't drain our energy. You
Mm-hmm.
want to engage with things that bring you joy and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And for those things that are bringing you down or attempting to bring you down, then you have to remove them from your life. You got to take a step back because they're not meant to be in your life at that moment. And you have to, hold yourself accountable. Like, that's okay. And when people say, oh, well, I don't like that shirt or whatever, maybe you still have to be in the mindset like, okay, well, you don't like it, but that's why it's my shirt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I put it on today because I like it.
I like it, exactly.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Put it on for me, not for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you feel like on your journey to self-love? What has been some things that like really helped you?
God, literally knowing who He says I am, knowing that He loves me more than I love myself, knowing that He knows who I am and He knows my ending from the beginning, um, helps me love myself more because it's just like, the reason why I'm here today is because of God. And because He knows my name, He chose me, He kept me, He's restoring me, He's healing me. It's just like He provides for me, He protects me. It's like God is everything to me. So therefore, it's like as long as I have God, that's that's what mainly matters to me. Because it's just like as long as I have God and the people that He puts in my life, it's because of Him. So it's just like in regards to being married, I'm married because God placed my husband in my life. The reason why I have my children is because God had created me to create them. It's just like my friends, the people that He brings in my life, the people that He takes out my life. everything's because of God. My job, you're saying everything, everything I have is because of God. And so when I think of how good God is to me and how much He loves me, it's just like I feel so special. So it's just like, why wouldn't I love myself? When we did our Zoom talk the other day on Thursday, and Deanna had mentioned that when we become saved and we become and we know that Jesus is within us, like how can you think of yourself less? How can you treat your body less than because like why would you? Because you have Jesus in you. Like our bodies are temple. So therefore, like, why would I love myself less? I have God in me. I have the Holy Spirit. You saying the Holy Spirit is with me. So it's just like, why would I love myself less? Like, I love myself so much. He saved me from myself. So everything's because of God. Like, He's everything, and just because He's everything, He makes me everything.
That's true. Definitely prayer and journaling for me. Having to write it out has been extremely helpful. Being able to, whatever those thoughts are, I get it on paper, not necessarily telling it to anyone else because then they don't amplify whatever those negative things may be. So I think that that's a great tool, and really just celebrating the small things, right? So if it's one change that I've made, so I spent, I don't know, 5 minutes eating a salad and some vegetables, I celebrate that because it's like, all right, you did that. So that means tomorrow you can kind of do the same, or, you know what I mean? And make that a consistent habit to do and make it a lifestyle, not just a habit, but you know what I mean? So it's just small things and celebrating that. And it's not about anyone, saying, oh my gosh, good job. No, me telling myself, good job, I did that. I knew I could do that. So now let me do this next thing.
I would definitely say get into the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the first thing. Like, of course, we begin everything with God, understanding what God says about us and loving every part of us, but also going back to that place of when we first have experienced like not feeling like we're worthy,
Right.
that we're beautiful, that whatever that thing is, and then forgiving yourself. I think self love also involves self forgiveness, which
Yeah.
is also important because of the fact that we didn't love ourselves, we probably ended up in relationships or made decisions that were not in our benefit, and now we're like trying to get back to a healthy place.
Yeah.
And like forgiving yourself, not condemning yourself, because now you know better, so you're gonna do better.
Mm-hmm.
And then also being mindful of the people that you're around, because if you're around people that they're not doing nothing but putting you down, you
Right.
know, and then if you're around people who are very insecure, right? I mean, come on, someone's
Right.
always complaining about the way they look or,
Uh-huh.
whatever, then you're going to tend to carry that same type of energy, but being around people that are very confident in themselves and people that affirm you, right? And people that don't allow you to self-sabotage yourself or self-hate yourself. People that's going to like lift you up,
Right.
or just hold your hand and be like, girl, let's take this to God, in prayer. Like you're still struggling with this. And giving yourself grace, but also having action behind that grace. Because we can give ourselves grace and still be paralyzed, but giving ourselves grace and being very intentional and putting action behind the grace.
Great points.
Is definitely what I recommend. So, oh, this is like, I don't know, my mind is just like going, this is like so heavy for me. So, I mean, we felt that this topic was very important because as most people celebrate Valentine's Day this month, some of you guys may not be celebrating. You might be single, but you can celebrate yourself. Like you can love on yourself, not just on Valentine's Day.
Right. Any
Just
day.
like every day. Like what are some ways that people can love on themselves?
Affirmations in the morning, like literally affirmations. I live by that. Literally, I pray, I say God's word, and then I affirm myself every day. And even if what I'm affirming doesn't stick with me throughout the day, at least I tried. Like you said, give yourself grace. So it's just like I might have started this with the day with the energy, but then I may have a hiccup in the day. But it's just like I can go back to those affirmations also, or you get up and try again. Remember, God gives us 24 hours in a day, so you have 24 hours in a day to affirm yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like go take a walk. if you like being outside, sometimes just a change of scenery is helpful. You know, I mean, I like being outside, and I know with this weather, one day is winter, but the next day is spring. So
Yeah.
just go outside, absorb some of that. You know what I mean? Take a bubble bath if you need to. Put some music on, whatever it is that you like to listen to, and have a concert. Listen, I do that all the time in my house. People might be mad, but if you have to sing it out, then you sing it out. You know what I mean? If there's that one book that you've been wanting to get to, read that book, even if it's just 5 minutes or one chapter. Do that for yourself because you can. You deserve it. Why not?
Yeah. And one important thing is to remember this is your journey.
Yep.
So, like, this is not anyone else's journey. This is your journey. Like, you can definitely take advice and guidance from other people and listen to their story and take heed to what, like, help them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to try multiple things till you find, like, what fits you. But getting yourself back to that place where you, like, what makes your heart smile.
Right.
Like, it could be for the ladies. It could be spa days, getting your nails done, getting your feet done, getting all dressed up for no reason, just going out to a nice restaurant, hanging out with your girls, exercising.
Right.
But people can look at you and literally tell if you do how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
Based on how you dress, how you talk, the people that you hang around, right? If you've been at a job for years where because people multiple times have told you, like, girl, you deserve better than this. Anytime someone says, you deserve better than this, and you take it to God in prayer, and you still hearing that thing, that means you deserve better than that. And so find out buy yourself some flowers. Like, stop waiting for people to do for you what you can do for yourself. Take yourself out.
I've done that before. I've bought myself flowers before. Andrew was like, where you get flowers from? I bought it for myself. I bought it for myself. Like, like you said, don't wait on people. Do what makes you happy. Flowers make me happy.
Yeah. You don't have to wait. And who cares? Let people talk. If you do something. So, when you're going against what's normal, people are going to always have something to say.
Oh, you
but
different.
You were set apart.
That's right.
You're not meant to be
right.
normal. You were meant to be disruptive. So you do what makes you happy. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Right. Do what makes you happy. Because, like we've been saying, like, you deserve. You're so worthy of it.
Yes.
Any last words?
No, besides, do what makes you happy. Literally put yourself first. Be selfish. Self-love, self-care.
Yeah, we only have this one life to live, right? So make the most of it. Cherish those moments because we don't get time back. So spend it doing the things that you love. Spend it with the people that you love and things that are going to bring joy and fulfillment.
Amen. So, talking about love, we hope that you guys love our new set. Like, we're testing and trying things out.
Tell us what you think.
Like, if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a comment. If you are listening on the audio version of podcast, send us an email, like freedomcirclepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
That's Freedom Circle Podcast. We're trying to do new and exciting things, and we're trying to keep you engaged.
Yes.
We want to hear from you. If you have a question for us, if you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, if you have a letter that you want us to read and respond to on a podcast, listen, send us an email. We want you to like, we want you to subscribe, we want you to share, and we want you to comment. You help us grow.
Absolutely.
You help us reach more people. So if this has been a blessing to you, allow it to be a blessing to other people. And we'll be back. Next episode, we're talking about loving romantic love.
Yes, I think I'm in love. You in love?
Yeah.
Or is it lust?
Which one?
Is it love? Is it lust? Are you in love? Are you in lust?
We're going to talk about it.
So until then, I'm Marcia.
And I'm Chantrice.
And I'm Sade. I'm here making a way.